Today, we're going to smoke some pork spare ribs. St. Louis pork spare ribs. I've had them for a couple of weeks in the freezer, and it's time to smoke them. They're a lot meatier than baby backs, a lot meatier. So here's what we're going to do. I did remove the silver skin from the back. You don't have to do that, but I prefer to do that. Regular mustard, just a little bit, and we'll smear it around. It's just going to help the seasonings to stick. It doesn't add a lot of flavor, so make a real thin layer. And our seasoning is kosher salt and coarse black pepper. I use a little more pepper than salt in this mix. And don't put it on too thick like you do a brisket, because this is such a thin cut of meat. You don't need a lot of it. Spread it around, turn it over, put the mustard on this side, and then season it with the salt and pepper. Again, not too heavy. And spread it around as evenly as you can. Now we're going to wrap it in plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator overnight. You don't have to do that. If you want to cook it right away, you can. Just that I prefer to season it the night before, wrap it up nicely, and stick it in the refrigerator. Now you can use your own seasoning mix. I have one I use once in a while. It's kind of a Southwest seasoning that I've added some brown sugar to, but I like this. So the next day, about 9:45, I started my smoker, and I use a Pit Boss pellet smoker. And it takes about 5 minutes to get going. So you set your temperature for about 275, and that takes another 5-10 minutes, and then you're ready to roll. I like to put my ribs on a wire rack over a sheet pan. It still gets a lot of smoke flow, but keeps my grill clean. 7 hours to go. After about an hour, you're going to want to give it its first spritz, and that's some apple cider vinegar and water, half and half. Give it a good spray down there, and you'll do that 2 or 3 times during this cook. You want to maintain about 250 to 275 throughout the cook. Now after 2 hours, you're going to give it its second spritz, and what this does is it keeps the edges from kind of getting too crispy too soon, and helps the fat not cook down so fast. So after 2.5 hours, you're going to want to give your rack of ribs another spritz of the apple cider vinegar and water mixture in the spray bottle, and then take half barbecue sauce and half apple cider vinegar and mix it up together, and you're going to slather that on your rack of ribs. And the reason you dilute it is so if it was straight barbecue sauce, it's going to burn too soon, because you're going to want to set that barbecue sauce right now for another 10 minutes. After 10 minutes with the barbecue sauce on, you want to pull it out and carefully, now I got to use tongs. I don't have those leather hands from real barbecuers have, and just turn it over and flip it over. And then we're going to do the other side with the diluted barbecue sauce. So now, with tongs, carefully pick up the rack of ribs and take it over to a workstation you've set up with foil. And by the way, they're nowhere near tender enough to fall apart yet, so don't worry about that. And you're going to want to double wrap it in foil with the presentation side, the good side, facing down, and the bone side facing up toward the seam. So take your rack of ribs wrapped in foil, seam side up, put it back in the smoker, and make sure you're at 250, 275. And you're going to shoot for about 2 hours, but after an hour, you need to check it, because as you're going to see in this cook, they got done a little bit sooner. So after about an hour, you're going to want to check them, because sometimes they get done a little faster than briskets and pork shoulders. And you can't use a meat thermometer with ribs. It just doesn't work because of the bones and everything. You're going to want to go by what they look like and by feel, tell if they're done. It took another hour and a half. Then bring it in the house. Keep it wrapped in the foil for about 45 to 60 minutes. Unwrap these guys after 45 to 60 minutes and see what you got. Nice. I like to get a clean sheet pan lined with foil and bring the ribs over, turn them over, so the good side's facing up. Now carefully take that foil that the ribs were cooked in and pour off all those juices all over your ribs. You can't let that go to waste. Now take your barbecue sauce and apple cider vinegar solution and give them another good slather, because we're going to put them back in the oven for just a few minutes. Now typically, you want to get these really nice and fork tender, but not super falling off the bone, because you can't pick them up, you can't cut them up. You can see these are done just about right and still moist, juicy, has a nice barbecue glaze on them. I'll put all the ingredients down below in the description. I also made a loaded ranch potato salad that's incredible. I'll put the ingredients for that down below too. So that's it. Smoked pork spare ribs. Hey, thanks to Loretta, my wife, for great camera work outside while we were smoking these things. Please hit the subscribe button and the bell button down below. Appreciate you watching. Please stay safe. Peace.